Jake Morrison sat in his chair and watched the big room fill with aliens. The Galactic Council meeting was about to start, and creatures from dozens of different worlds were taking their seats. Some looked like giant bugs. Others looked like walking rocks. A few even looked like floating clouds of gas. Jake was the human ambassador. He had been doing this job for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the Galactic Council. His job was simple: represent humanity in all the big decisions that affected the galaxy. Next to him sat Amy Carter, his assistant. She was young and smart, always ready with the right information when Jake needed it. Amy kept all the files, records that Jake might need during meetings. The room grew quiet as a tall, blue-skinned alien walked to the front. This was Vextar, the council leader. His people, the Zephroni, had been part of the council for over 200 years. They were respected by everyone. "Today we talk about the Darkwood Syndicate," Vextar said in his deep voice. "They have attacked 3 more colonies this month. Many people are dead. Many more are missing." Jake had read the reports. The Darkwood Syndicate was a group of pirates and raiders. They had been getting bolder lately, attacking bigger targets. They used fast ships and good weapons. Most importantly, they seemed to enjoy hurting people. A large gray alien stood up. This was Commander Brix of the Thornax people. The Thornax were warriors. They loved to fight and were very good at it. Brix had scars all over his arms and face from old battles. "We should attack them with everything we have," Brix said, hitting the table with his fist. "My ships can find them. My warriors can destroy them." "Violence is not always the answer," said another alien. This one looked like a giant jellyfish floating in a tank of water. "Perhaps we can talk to them, find out what they want." Other aliens began to speak. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to talk. A few suggested hiding and hoping the Darkwood Syndicate would go away. Jake listened to everything but said nothing. This was normal for him. In 3 years of council meetings, Jake had rarely spoken. When he did talk, it was usually to suggest peaceful solutions. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for avoiding fights. "What about the humans?" asked a small, furry alien. "What do they think we should do?" All eyes turned to Jake. He could feel dozens of different creatures looking at him. Some had big eyes. Some had many eyes. Some had no eyes at all, but could still somehow see him. Jake stood up slowly. He was not tall for a human, but he was taller than many of the aliens in the room. "We think there might be a way to solve this without fighting," he said in a calm voice. Several aliens made sounds that Jake had learned meant they were not surprised. This was exactly what they expected from humans. "Of course," said Brix with a sound like a laugh. "The humans always want to talk instead of fight. They have no stomach for real war." "The human species has never fought a proper battle," added another warrior alien. "They are weak. They fear conflict." Amy looked at Jake with concern. She did not like hearing other species insult humans. But Jake's face showed no emotion. He had heard these comments many times before. "We prefer peace," Jake said simply. "Fighting should be the last choice, not the first." "See?" said Brix to the other aliens. "They admit they are afraid of war. The humans are useful for many things, but they cannot help us with this problem." Jake sat back down. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. Different species suggested different plans. Some wanted to build bigger defenses. Others wanted to hire mercenaries to fight the Darkwood Syndicate. A few suggested abandoning the outer colonies completely. Through it all, Jake remained quiet. He took notes and listened carefully, but he did not speak again. This was his way. This was the human way, as far as the galaxy knew. When the meeting ended, Jake and Amy walked back to their small office in the council building. The office was simple and clean, with just a desk, 2 chairs, and a computer. I hate it when they talk about us like that, Amy said as she closed the door. Let them think what they want to think, Jake replied. He sat at his desk and turned. On the computer. It has been useful so far? Useful? Amy asked. How is it useful to have everyone think we are weak? Jake looked at her with a small smile. Because they leave us alone. They do not see us as a threat. They tell us their secrets because they think we cannot hurt them. Amy sat in her chair and thought about this. She had been working with Jake for 2 years, but sometimes she still did not understand him completely. But what if we really need to fight? She asked. What if talking and peace do not work? Jake's smile disappeared. For just a moment, Amy saw something different in his eyes, something cold and dangerous. Then it was gone, and Jake looked normal again. Then we will do what we have to do, he said quietly. But let us hope it does not come to that. Amy wanted to ask more questions, but Jake had already started working on his computer. She knew that when Jake started working, he did not like to be interrupted. Outside their office, aliens walked through the council building hallways. They talked about the meeting and the problem of the Darkwood Syndicate. Many of them mentioned the humans and how useless they were in a real crisis. None of them knew that in a secret room far below the council building, other humans were watching and listening to everything. These humans wore different clothes than Jake and Amy. They wore black uniforms with no names or symbols on them. These humans had been on the council world for 3 years, just like Jake, but nobody knew they were there. They had arrived on ships that did not appear on any records. They lived in places that did not exist on any maps. One of these hidden humans spoke into a small device. Status report, he said. A voice answered from the device. All units ready. Monitoring continues. No action required at this time. Good, the man said. Keep watching. Something tells me we will be needed soon. Back in his office, Jake finished his work and turned off the computer. Amy had already gone home for the day. Jake sat alone in the quiet room and thought about the meeting. The Darkwood Syndicate was getting stronger. The galaxy's military forces were not strong enough to stop them. Soon, very soon, the council would be desperate for help. Jake stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the peaceful city below. Aliens from many different worlds lived and worked together here. It was beautiful and calm. Jake hoped it would stay that way. But he knew that hope was not always enough. Sometimes when peace failed, other options became necessary. He reached into his desk and pulled out a small communicator. It looked like the ones all council members carried, but this one was different. This one connected to frequencies that officially did not exist. This is Morrison, he spoke into the device. We are here, came the reply. Stand by, Jake said. Continue to monitor. Be ready for my signal. Always ready, the voice replied. Jake put the communicator back in his desk and locked the drawer. Then he turned off the lights and left his office. Tomorrow there would be another meeting. The Darkwood Syndicate would probably attack more colonies. The council would argue about what to do, and Jake would sit quietly and say very little. But things were changing. Jake could feel it. The galaxy was moving toward a crisis that peaceful words could not solve. When that time came, the galaxy would learn something new about humans, something that might surprise them very much indeed. 3 months had passed since the last council meeting about the Darkwood Syndicate. Things had gotten much worse. The pirates were no longer just stealing from small trading ships. Now they were attacking entire planets. Captain Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of her ship, the Meridian. Through the front window, she could see a refugee camp on the planet below. Thousands of aliens had fled from their homes when the Darkwood Syndicate attacked their world. How many can we take this trip? Lisa asked her second officer, Lieutenant Ryan Clark. Ryan looked at his computer screen. About 2,000. Maybe a few more if we pack them tight. Lisa nodded. The Meridian was supposed to be a cargo ship, but for the past month it had been carrying refugees instead of goods. Every day brought more people who had lost everything to the Darkwood Raiders. Get them loaded as fast as we can, Lisa said. I want to be out of here before dark. This system is not safe anymore. Down in the refugee camp, Amy Carter was helping organize the evacuation. She had taken leave from her job with Jake Morrison to volunteer for refugee relief work. What she saw made her angry and sad at the same time. Families had been torn apart. Children cried for parents who would never come home. Old people sat quietly, staring at nothing, too shocked to speak. These were the lucky ones, the ones who had escaped before the Darkwood Syndicate arrived. Miss Carter called an alien who looked like a walking tree. My daughter is still missing. She was at school when the attack came. Can your ship look for her? Amy's heart hurt for the alien father. She had heard this question dozens of times in the past few weeks. I am sorry, she said gently. We can only take people who are already here. It is too dangerous to search the attack zones. The tree alien made a sound like wind through leaves. Amy knew this meant he was crying back on the council world. Jake Morrison read Lisa's daily reports. Each one was worse than the last. The Darkwood Syndicate was not just raiding anymore. They were conquering. They would attack a planet, kill, or capture most of the people, then use it as a base to attack the next world. The Council's military forces had tried to stop them many times. Every attempt had failed badly. Commander Brix and his Thornax warriors were the first to attack a Darkwood base. They were confident and sure they would win easily. The Thornax were famous throughout the galaxy for being fierce fighters. The battle lasted only 4 hours. Half of Brix's ships were destroyed. The other half barely escaped. Brix himself was badly wounded and had to spend weeks in a hospital. How did they beat us so easily? Brix asked during his report to the council. His voice was quiet and confused. We have fought thousands of battles. We know how to win wars. The Darkwood Syndicate fights differently than anyone we have seen before, explained a military advisor. They do not follow the normal rules of battle. They use tricks and traps. They are willing to sacrifice their own ships to destroy ours. Next, the Crystalline Collective tried their luck. Their people were made of living crystal and could survive in space without ships. They also had powerful energy weapons that could melt through almost any armor. The Darkwood Syndicate was ready for them too. They used special shields that could absorb energy attacks and turn them back on the attackers. Many crystalline fighters were destroyed by their own weapons. The Vorthan Empire sent their mechanical army next. Thousands of robot soldiers in giant metal suits attacked a Darkwood base on a desert planet. The robots were programmed to feel no fear and to never give up. The Darkwood forces let the robots land and start their attack. Then they used electromagnetic bombs that shut down all the robot soldiers at once. The mechanical army became thousands of pieces of expensive junk scattered across the desert. After each defeat, the council met to discuss what to do next. The meetings were getting more desperate. Some species were starting to panic. Maybe we should abandon the outer colonies, suggested the jellyfish alien in her water tank. Pull everyone back to the core worlds where we can defend them better. That means giving up millions of people, argued another council member. The colonies have been our homes for hundreds of years. We cannot just run away. What choice do we have? Asked a small, mouse-like alien. Our best military forces cannot stop them. Every attack makes them stronger and us weaker. Jake sat quietly and listened to all of this. He took notes and sometimes asked questions, but he did not offer any suggestions. This was normal for him. Everyone expected the human representative to avoid military discussions. Perhaps we should try to negotiate with them, said Counselor. Yeth of the Aquatic Union. Find out what they really want. Maybe we can make a deal. What they want is everything, growled Brix. His wounds were healing, but his pride was still hurt from his defeat. They want to own the entire galaxy. There is no negotiating with people like that. Then what do you suggest? Asked Vextar, the council leader. Our armies have failed. Our technology has failed. Our strategies have failed. What other options do we have? The room became very quiet. Nobody had a good answer. All eyes slowly turned to the human section. Jake Morrison sat calmly in his chair, with Amy's empty seat next to him. His face showed no emotion, as always. Ambassador Morrison, said Vextar, your people are known for finding peaceful solutions to difficult problems. Do you have any suggestions? Jake stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the different alien faces. Some looked hopeful. Others looked skeptical. A few looked annoyed that they were even asking the weak humans for help. I need time to think, Jake said simply. This is a complex problem. I want to study all the information before I give you an answer. Several aliens made disappointed sounds. They had hoped for some clever human idea that would solve everything without more fighting. How much time do you need? Asked Vextar. 1 week, Jake replied. Give me 1 week to consider all the options. Very well, Vextar said. We will meet again in 7 days to hear your proposal. As the council members left the meeting hall, many of them talked quietly among themselves. The humans will probably suggest more negotiations, said one alien to another. Or maybe they will want to evacuate everyone to safer worlds, replied his friend. Whatever they suggest, it will not involve fighting, said a third alien. Humans do not have the stomach for real war. None of them noticed that Jake Morrison did not go back to his office after the meeting. Instead, he took a different route through the council building. He walked down stairs that most people did not know existed. He went through doors that were not marked on any building maps. Deep underground, in a room that officially did not exist, Jake met with 3 other humans. These humans wore black uniforms and had serious expressions. They had been waiting for this meeting for a long time. The council is desperate, Jake told them. They have tried everything they know how to do. Nothing has worked. We have been watching the Darkwood attacks, said one of the uniformed humans. They are good, but not as good as they think they are. How long would you need? Jake asked. 2 weeks to prepare, replied another uniform. Maybe 3 to be completely ready. And to finish the job? 1 week, maybe less. Jake nodded slowly. He had hoped it would not come to this. For 3 years, humanity had been able to maintain its peaceful reputation in the galaxy. Soon, that might have to change. Start preparing, Jake said. I will try one more diplomatic solution first. If that fails, we do what we have to do. The uniformed humans nodded and left the room through different exits. Jake stayed behind for a few minutes, thinking about what was coming. Somewhere in space, Captain Lisa Brooks was loading more refugees onto her ship. She did not know that her vessel carried hidden modifications that could turn it from a rescue ship into something much more dangerous. On dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, other humans went about their normal daily lives. They worked regular jobs, lived in normal houses, had families and friends. Most of the galaxy saw them as peaceful settlers and traders. None of the aliens knew that these ordinary humans were actually highly trained soldiers, waiting for orders. That might never come. They had been waiting for 3 years, maintaining their cover identities while secretly preparing for a war that everyone hoped would never happen, but hope was running out. The Darkwood Syndicate was getting stronger every day. Soon, the galaxy would need more than hope. Soon, it might need the other side of humanity. the side that humans had kept hidden since they first joined the galactic community. Jake Morrison walked back up to his office and sat at his desk. He had 1 week to find a peaceful solution to an impossible problem. If he failed, the galaxy was about to learn something about humans that might change everything forever. The week passed quickly. Jake Morrison spent every day in his office, reading reports and studying files. Amy Carter had returned from her refugee work and was helping him prepare for the big council meeting. The Darkwood Syndicate attacked too. "More colonies while you were thinking," Amy told him. "Thousands more people are dead or missing." Jake nodded but said nothing. He had been expecting this. The pirates were getting bolder because they knew nobody could stop them. "What are you? Going to tell the council?" Amy asked. Jake looked at her for a long moment. "The truth," he said finally. Amy was confused. "What truth?" "You will see," Jake said. "Make sure all the files are ready, especially the classified ones." "Which classified files?" Amy asked. "We do not have any classified files." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Yes, we do. You just did not know about them." The council meeting hall was packed. Representatives from every member species had come to hear what the humans would suggest. The room buzzed with quiet conversations as everyone took their seats. Jake walked to his usual spot with Amy beside him. But today felt different. Jake carried himself differently. He looked more serious, more focused. Amy noticed that he had dressed differently too. Instead of his usual simple clothes, he wore a dark blue uniform she had never seen before. Vex Star called the meeting to order. "Ambassador Morrison, we are ready to hear your proposal." Jake stood up and walked to the center of the room. This was unusual. Normally, council members spoke from their seats. By walking to the center, Jake was demanding everyone's full attention. "You are all looking at me, expecting a peaceful solution," Jake began. His voice was different too, stronger, more commanding. "You think we humans are afraid of war. You think we have never fought. You think we are the galaxy's pacifists." The room was completely silent. Every alien was staring at Jake. "The truth is, we are not afraid of war," Jake continued. "We are afraid of what we become during war." Amy's eyes went wide. She activated her computer pad, but instead of the usual diplomatic files, she found military documents she had never seen before. Pictures of weapons, battle plans, and things that looked very dangerous. "You see," Jake said, "in our short history, as a species, we have fought constantly, not just against outside enemies, but against ourselves." The holographic display system activated. Amy's computer was controlling it, showing images from Earth's history. The aliens in the room gasped as they saw pictures of human battlefields. Ancient warriors with swords and shields fought in bloody battles. Medieval knights in armor charged at each other with long spears. Soldiers in trenches fired rifles at enemies they could barely see. "We fought with sticks and stones," Jake explained. "Then we made weapons from bronze and iron. We invented gunpowder and built cannons. We learned to kill each other more efficiently with every generation." The images changed. Now they showed more modern warfare. Tanks rolling across battlefields. Airplanes dropping bombs on cities. Ships firing huge guns at each other across the ocean. Commander Brix leaned forward in his seat. His warrior instincts were telling him that something very important was happening. "We split the atom," Jake continued. "Not for energy, but for destruction. We built bombs that could destroy entire cities in seconds." The display showed the aftermath of nuclear weapons. Alien representatives made shocked sounds as they saw the devastation humans had created for themselves. "We militarized space not for exploration, but for warfare. We put weapons in orbit around our planet. We built ships designed only to destroy other ships. New images appeared. These showed human spacecraft that looked nothing like the peaceful trading vessels the galaxy was familiar with. These ships had armor plating and weapon systems that made them look like predators. By the time we achieved faster-than-light travel, we had turned war into an art form, Jake said. The room was dead silent. Many aliens looked frightened. Others looked fascinated. A few looked angry. When we first met your species, Jake continued, we made a choice. We decided to try something different. Peace, diplomacy, cooperation. Not because we were weak, but because we were tired of being the monsters we were capable of becoming. Amy was scrolling through file after file on her computer. She found records of human military units scattered throughout the galaxy, weapons caches hidden on dozens of worlds, soldiers living under false identities, pretending to be normal civilians. But monsters, Jake said, his voice getting colder, are what? This situation requires. You are lying, said a voice from the crowd. It was the small, mouse-like alien who had spoken at previous meetings. Humans have never shown any military capability. You do not even have a proper army. Jake smiled, and this time it was not a diplomatic smile. It was the smile of a predator who had been hiding among sheep. Amy, please call Colonel Pete Davis, he said. Amy looked confused, but she activated her communicator. Colonel Davis, please come to the council chamber. Who is Colonel Davis? Asked Vexstar. You are about to find out, Jake replied. The main doors to the council chamber opened. A human walked in, but he was unlike any human the aliens had ever seen. He wore black military armor with no insignia or markings. He moved like a professional soldier, every step precise and controlled. Alien representatives stirred nervously. This human felt dangerous in a way that Jake Morrison never had. Colonel Davis commands the 5th Human Defense Corps, Jake explained. One of 12 such units that have been stationed throughout the galaxy during our time in the Council. Stationed? Vexstar's voice was worried. We have no record of human military installations anywhere in Council space. Colonel Davis spoke for the first time. His voice was calm and professional, but it carried an undertone of controlled violence. That was the point. We have had 3 years to study this galaxy. We know every military base, every trade route, every weakness in your defenses. Impossible, said Commander Briggs. The Thornax have the best intelligence network in the galaxy. We would have detected you. Would you? Davis asked. He made a hand signal to Amy, who brought up a new display. The holographic projector showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared throughout the star systems, marking locations that had been invisible to all Council sensors. Human bases, weapon platforms, listening posts, and what looked like an entire fleet of warships. We know the Darkwood Syndicate's true strength, Davis continued. We know where their leaders live. We know their supply routes. We know their tactical preferences. We have been watching them since they first appeared, waiting to see if the galaxy could handle the threat without our help. And your conclusion? Asked Brix. You cannot, Davis said simply. Your military thinking is too limited. You fight like civilized beings, following rules of honor and fair play. The Darkwood Syndicate fights like animals who only want to kill and destroy. To beat animals, you need to think like a more dangerous animal. Jake walked closer to the center of the room. For 3 years, we have been the species you wanted us to be. Peaceful, diplomatic, helpful, but harmless. We have shared our technology, helped solve your problems, and never asked for anything in return. But now? Asked Vexstar. Now we stop pretending, Jake said. Now we become what we actually are. An alien representative from the outer colonies stood up. If you have the power to stop the Darkwood Syndicate, Why did you wait so long? Why did you let them kill so many innocent people? Jake's expression became very serious. Because once we start, we cannot stop halfway. When humans go to war, we do not fight to make a point or to win a negotiation. We fight to completely destroy our enemies so they can never threaten us again. Total war, whispered Brix. The concept was familiar to his warrior culture, but even the Thorax rarely practiced it. Total war, Jake confirmed. The Darkwood Syndicate will not just be defeated, they will be eliminated. Every ship, every base, every leader, every follower. When we are finished, they will exist only in history books. The council chamber erupted in shocked conversations. Some aliens were horrified by the idea of such complete destruction. Others were excited by the possibility of finally ending the Darkwood threat. "What do you need from us?" asked Vextar. "Nothing," Jake replied. "Just stay out of our way." Colonel Davis activated a communicator on his armor. "All units, execute Phase 1. "Phase 1 initiated," came the reply from multiple voices. Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces. "Ladies and gentlemen, the war against the Darkwood Syndicate has begun." Amy stared at her computer screen, watching as human military units throughout the galaxy received their activation orders. For 3 years, these forces had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for this moment. "Jake," she whispered, "who are we really?" Jake heard her question, but did not answer immediately. He was watching the tactical display as the first human strikes began. "We are what happens when a species learns to wage war better than anyone else in the universe," he said. "Finally. And we are about to show this galaxy what that means." The age of human deception was over. The age of human warfare had begun. The first attack came exactly 12 hours after Jake Morrison's speech to the council. Captain Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of the Meridian, but her ship looked nothing like the refugee transport it had been pretending to be. The cargo holds had opened to reveal missile launchers and plasma cannons. The hull plating had shifted to show thick armor underneath. The engine systems had been upgraded to military specifications. In just a few hours, the peaceful rescue ship had become a weapon of war. "Target acquired," reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Kevin Hayes. "Darkwood Supply Depot, Delta 7 system." "Any civilian ships in the area?" Lisa asked. "Negative, Captain. The depot is isolated, just like our intelligence said it would be." Lisa nodded. The Human Intelligence Network had been watching the Darkwood Syndicate for months, learning their patterns and weaknesses. This depot supplied food and ammunition to 12 different Darkwood bases. Destroying it would cripple their operations in this entire sector. "Begin the attack," Lisa ordered. The Meridian's weapons opened fire. But this was not the clumsy, obvious assault that other species had attempted. The humans used precise, calculated strikes. They hit the depot's power generators first, plunging the base into darkness. Then they destroyed the communication arrays, preventing any calls for help. Only then did they target the supply, warehouses, and defensive positions. The whole attack took less than 2 hours. When it was over, the Darkwood Supply Depot was nothing but floating debris. More importantly, it had been destroyed so quickly that the defenders never had time to send a distress signal. "Mission complete," Lisa reported to Colonel Davis. "No survivors, no witnesses." "Excellent work, Meridian," came the reply. "Proceed to your next target." Back in the council chambers, alien representatives watched the tactical displays in stunned silence. The screens showed multiple human attacks happening at the same time across the galaxy. 17 different Darkwood installations were being hit simultaneously. "How is this possible?" whispered Counselor Yeth. "How can they coordinate so many attacks across such vast distances?" Amy Carter was monitoring the communications between human forces. What she saw amazed and frightened her. The human military units were working together like parts of a single organism. They anticipated each other's moves, adapted to changing situations instantly, and exploited weaknesses that other species had never even noticed. "They're training," she said quietly to Jake. "How long have they been preparing for this?" "All their lives," Jake replied. "Every human in our military forces has been studying warfare since childhood. They know the history of every battle ever fought on Earth. They understand strategy and tactics better than most aliens understand their own languages." On the tactical display, they watched as Major Ryan Clark's ground forces assaulted a Darkwood fortress on a moon orbiting a gas giant. The Darkwood defenders were well armed and well protected, but they had never faced anything like human soldiers. The humans did not charge directly at the fortress like other species would have done. Instead, they studied the base's design and found its weak points. They used explosives to collapse part of the moon's surface, creating a landslide that buried half the defensive positions. Then they attacked from 3 different directions at once, using the landslide dust as cover. The Darkwood forces tried to fight back, but they were confused and disoriented. Within 4 hours, the fortress was captured and all defenders were dead. "Target secured," Ryan reported. "No human casualties." Commander Brix watched these reports with growing amazement. "Impossible," he muttered. "My warriors took heavy losses attacking much smaller Darkwood positions. How do the humans make it look so easy?" Colonel Davis heard the question and answered, "Because we do not fight fair. We do not follow your rules of honorable combat. We study our enemies until we understand them better than they understand themselves. Then we use that knowledge to destroy them completely." "But the Darkwood Syndicate are experienced fighters," protested another alien. "They have defeated every military force sent against them." "They have defeated military forces that fight like you do," Davis corrected. "You attack what you can. See, you fight battles the way your ancestors fought them. You try to minimize your own losses while slowly wearing down the enemy." Jake stepped forward. "Humans learned long ago that the fastest way to end a war is to make it so terrible that your enemy loses the will to fight. We do not try to defeat the Darkwood Syndicate. We try to make them afraid to continue existing." As if to prove his point, the tactical display showed another human victory. Captain Brooks and the Meridian had destroyed a second Darkwood base, this one much larger than the first. The attack had been even more devastating than before. "How many Darkwood positions have been destroyed?" asked Vextar. Amy checked her computer. 17 confirmed destroyed. 5 more under attack. 3 Darkwood fleets have been intercepted and completely eliminated. "In less than 1 day?" Vextar's voice showed his disbelief. "The first day is always the most important," Jake explained. "If you can destroy enough of your enemy's capability before they can react, the rest of the war becomes much easier." "But surely they will adapt," said the mouse-like alien. "The Darkwood Syndicate survived attacks from the Thornax, the Crystalline Collective, and the Vorthan Empire. They will learn how to fight humans, too." Colonel Davis laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. "They cannot adapt to something they do not understand. And by the time they figure out how we fight, there will be none of them left to use that knowledge." The truth of his words became clear over the next several hours. Human forces continued their attacks throughout the galaxy, and every single mission was successful. The Darkwood Syndicate tried to fight back, but their counterattacks failed completely. When they sent ships to attack human positions, they found that the bases they were targeting did not exist. The humans had been using fake installations to fool enemy sensors while keeping their real bases hidden. When they tried to ambush human fleets, they discovered that the humans had known about their plans in advance. Human intelligence was so good that they seemed to be reading the Darkwood leaders' minds. When they attempted to retreat to their secret strongholds, they found human forces already waiting for them. There was no safe place left in the galaxy for the Darkwood Syndicate to hide. "This is not a war," said Brix, watching yet another one-sided human victory. "This is an extermination." "Yes," Jake agreed simply. "That is exactly what it is." Amy looked at her computer screen, trying to understand the scale of what she was seeing. "Jake, how many human soldiers are involved in these attacks?" "Fewer than you might think," he replied. "Quality matters more than quantity. One properly trained human soldier is worth 10 enemy fighters who do not know what they are doing." "But the coordination, the intelligence, the equipment," Amy said. "This must have taken years to prepare." "It did," Jake confirmed. "From the moment we first made contact with other species, we began preparing for the possibility that we might need to fight. We hoped it would never be necessary, but we were ready just in case." The alien representatives were beginning to understand the magnitude of what they were witnessing. For 3 years, humanity had been playing a careful game of deception. They had appeared weak and peaceful while secretly building the most effective military force the galaxy had ever seen. "Your refugee ships," said Counselor Yef, finally understanding. "They were not just rescue vessels. Every human civilian ship has military modifications," Colonel Davis confirmed. "Every human settlement has defensive capabilities. Every human citizen has basic military training. We do not separate our military from our civilian population the way you do." "That means ... Vexstar's voice trailed off as he realized the implications. "That means every human in the galaxy is a potential soldier," Jake finished. "We have been preparing for war while hoping for peace. Now that war has come, we are ready." On the tactical display, they watched as yet another Darkwood position was eliminated. This time it was a major command center that had been hidden inside an asteroid field. The humans had found it anyway and destroyed it with surgical precision. "The Darkwood leaders are trying to communicate with each other," Amy reported, monitoring enemy transmissions. "But most of their communication networks have been destroyed." "Good," said Davis. "Confusion and fear are all lies now. The more isolated and frightened they become, the more mistakes they will make." A new alarm sounded on Amy's computer. "Incoming transmission from the Darkwood Syndicate. They want to negotiate." The council chamber fell silent. After months of refusing all attempts at communication, the Darkwood Syndicate was finally ready to talk. "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main holographic display changed to show a scarred reptilian face. This was Warlord Vex, the leader of the Darkwood Syndicate. He looked angry and desperate. "I demand to speak with whoever is responsible for these attacks," Vex snarled. "You are speaking with him," Jake replied calmly. Vex's eyes widened when he saw Jake's human features. "Impossible. Humans are weak. Humans do not fight wars." "Apparently you were misinformed," Jake said. "I offer a truce," Vex said quickly. "We will stop our raids on Council worlds. We will return to our own territory and leave you alone." Jake considered this for a moment. Several alien representatives looked hopeful. Maybe the war could be ended without more bloodshed. "No," Jake said finally. "What?" Vex looked shocked. "You refuse my offer of peace?" "You had your chance for peace," Jake replied. "You chose war instead. Now you must face the consequences of that choice." But you are humans," Vex protested. "You always choose peace over war." Jake's expression grew cold. "We choose peace when peace is possible. When it is not possible, we choose victory. Complete, total, absolute victory." "I can give you valuable information," Vex said desperately. "I know about other threats to the galaxy. I can help you fight them." "We do not need your help," Jake said. "We do not want your cooperation. We want you gone." Vex's face twisted with rage. "You think you have won? This is only the beginning. I have allies you know nothing about. Forces that will make your precious council tremble." "Perhaps," Jake agreed. "But you will not live to see them." "What do you mean?" Jake looked directly into Vex's eyes. "In exactly 47 minutes, human forces will assault your flagship. You have that long to make peace with whatever gods you believe in." "Impossible!" Vex shouted. "My ship is in deep space, far from any inhabited system. No one knows where I am." "We do," Jake said simply, and cut the transmission. The council chamber was dead quiet. Even Commander Brix, who had seen many wars, looked stunned by what he had just witnessed. "How do you know where he is?" asked Vexstar. Colonel Davis smiled. "Because we have been tracking him for 2 months. One of his trusted advisors has been working for us since before the war began." "A spy?" Amy asked. "Several spies," Davis corrected. "Humans are very good at making friends with people who later prove useful." True to Jake's prediction, exactly 47 minutes later, the tactical display showed the destruction of Warlord Vex's flagship. The attack was swift and overwhelming. The most feared pirate leader in the galaxy was dead, along with his entire command staff. "With Vex gone, the Darkwood Syndicate will collapse within days," Davis reported. "The remaining leaders will fight among themselves for control. We will eliminate them one by one while they are distracted." "And then?" asked Brix. "And then the threat will be over," Jake said, "permanently." Amy looked around the council chamber at all the alien faces. Some looked relieved that the Darkwood Syndicate was finally being defeated. Others looked frightened by the efficiency of human warfare. A few looked thoughtful, as if they were reconsidering everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. "What happens next?" she asked Jake quietly. "Next, we finish the job," Jake replied. "And then we see if the galaxy still wants us as peaceful neighbors, or if they prefer us to remain as we really are." Amy was not sure which answer she was hoping for. 2 weeks after the war began, it was over. Captain Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of the Meridian, looking out at what had once been the largest Darkwood Syndicate base in the galaxy. Now it was nothing but floating wreckage and empty space. "Final target eliminated," she reported to Colonel Davis. "All Darkwood forces in this sector have been destroyed." "Confirmed," came the reply. "That was the last one. Mission complete." Lisa felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. The job was done, but she had seen too much destruction over the past 2 weeks. Even though the Darkwood Syndicate had been evil, the scale of their complete elimination was sobering. "All units, stand down to peacetime status," Davis's voice came over the communication system. "Begin conversion back to civilian operations." Around Lisa, her crew began the process of transforming the Meridian back into a refugee transport. The weapons were retracted and hidden. The armor plating shifted back to reveal the ship's peaceful appearance. Within a few hours, it would look exactly like it had before the war. Back on the council world, Jake Morrison sat in his office with Amy Carter. They were reading the final reports from human forces throughout the galaxy. "Total Darkwood casualties?" Jake asked. 100%, Amy replied, her voice quiet. "Every ship destroyed. Every base eliminated. Every leader dead. According to our intelligence network, not a single member of the Darkwood Syndicate survived." Jake nodded. This was what he had expected, but hearing it confirmed still felt heavy. Human casualties? 17 wounded? 0 dead. Jake was not surprised by this either. Human military planning had been so thorough that they had eliminated almost all risk to their own forces. But still, the complete one-sidedness of the conflict was striking. "The council is called an emergency meeting," Amy said. "They want to discuss what happens now." "I know," Jake replied. "Are you ready for it?" Amy looked at him uncertainly. I do not know what to expect anymore. 2 weeks ago, I thought I knew who we were. Now I feel like I do not know anything. Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see aliens going about their daily lives in the Council City. Most of them probably did not even know that a war had been fought and won while they were sleeping. We are the same people we always were, he said gently. We just showed a different side of ourselves. But which side is real? Amy asked. The peaceful diplomats or the unstoppable warriors? Both, Jake said. That is what makes us human. An hour later, Jake walked into the council chamber. The room was packed even more than usual. Word had spread throughout the galaxy about humanity's military capabilities, and everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Jake noticed that the other council members looked at him differently now. Before the war, their expressions had been polite but dismissive. Now there was respect in their eyes, mixed with fear and uncertainty. Colonel Davis was already in the chamber, still wearing his black military uniform. He stood at attention near the human section, a visible reminder of the power that had just been demonstrated. Vextar called the meeting to order. Ambassador Morrison, the Council wishes to understand humanity's intentions going forward. Jake stood up, but this time he remained at his seat instead of walking to the center of the room. Our intentions are the same as they have always been, he said. We want peace and cooperation with all species in the galaxy. But you also have military capabilities that far exceed anything we previously imagined, said Commander Briggs. How can we trust that you will not use those capabilities against us? Jake considered the question carefully. Commander, in the past 2 weeks, human forces have demonstrated that we could defeat any military force in the galaxy. We have shown that we can strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. We have proven that we can completely eliminate any threat we choose to eliminate. Several aliens shifted nervously in their seats. And yet, Jake continued, we have not threatened a single council member. We have not demanded anything from you. We have not even asked for payment for our services. We fought the Darkwood Syndicate because they were a threat to innocent people, not because we wanted to conquer anyone. But what guarantee do we have that this will not change? Asked the mouse-like alien. Power corrupts. What if humans decide they want to rule the galaxy? Jake looked around the room, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as he could. You have the same guarantee you have always had, he said. Our word. We told you 3 years ago that we came in peace, and we meant it. Nothing has changed, except your perception of what we are capable of. Counselor Yeth spoke up from her water tank. But surely you understand our concern. We now know that humans have been deceptive about their true nature. Have we? Jake asked. We told you we preferred peace to war. That was true. We told you we wanted to cooperate with other species. That was also true. We told you we hoped to solve problems through diplomacy, rather than violence. We still hope for that. But you never told us about your military capabilities, Vextar pointed out. Would you have wanted to know? Jake asked. If we had arrived 3 years ago and said, hello, we are humans. We are very good at killing people, but we promise to be peaceful. Would that have made you feel safer? The room was quiet as the aliens considered this question. We made a choice, Jake continued. We decided to show you our best qualities first and keep our more dangerous qualities hidden unless they became necessary. We hoped they would never become necessary. And now, asked Briggs. Now you know the truth about us, Jake said. We are capable of great kindness and great violence. We can be your most loyal friends or your most terrible enemies. We prefer to be friends. Colonel Davis stepped forward. The human military forces that participated in this war are already returning to their civilian identities. Our weapons are being hidden again. Our bases are returning to their cover operations. We are going back to being the peaceful species you thought we were. But you could become warriors again if you chose to, said another alien. Yes, Jake admitted. But we will only choose to do so if there is another threat like the Darkwood Syndicate. We do not fight for conquest or glory. We fight to protect the innocent and preserve peace. Amy Carter had been watching the reactions of the council members. Some still looked frightened, but others seemed to be relaxing. The idea that humans were choosing to remain peaceful was reassuring to them. What safeguards can you offer? Asked Vextar. How can we be sure that human military power will never be turned against the council? Jake thought about this question for a long time before answering. The same safeguard that has always protected you from us, he said finally. We do not want to rule anyone. We do not want to conquer anything. We just want to live in peace and help others do the same. But power changes people, insisted the mouse-like alien. Perhaps, Jake agreed. But consider this. We have had this power for 3 years without using it. We have had this power for 2 weeks while demonstrating it, and we have not used it against anyone except those who threatened innocent lives. If we were going to become conquerors, would we not have started already? Commander Brix stood up. I have fought many wars and faced many enemies, he said. I know the difference between warriors who fight for honor and those who fight for destruction. The humans fought like honorable warriors. They could have destroyed many more targets than they did. They could have caused much more suffering than they did. They chose restraint even in the midst of total war. Other council members began to nod in agreement. The human military campaign had been devastating to the Darkwood Syndicate, but it had been very precise. No innocent lives had been lost. No civilian targets had been attacked. The humans had fought with controlled fury, not mindless rage. Very well, said Vextar after a long pause. The Council accepts that humanity will remain a peaceful member of our community, while acknowledging that you possess additional capabilities that may be called upon in extreme circumstances. That is all we have ever wanted, Jake said. There is one more thing, added Brix. The galaxy owes you a debt for eliminating the Darkwood Syndicate. How can we repay you? Jake smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it was a genuinely warm smile. Continue to give us the chance to be the peaceful species we want to be. That is payment enough. As the council meeting ended, and the representatives began to leave, Amy walked over to Jake. Do you think they believe us? She asked. Do you think they trust that we will remain peaceful? Jake watched the aliens filing out of the chamber. Most of them were talking quietly among themselves, processing what they had learned. Some do, he said. Others will need time. But I think we have shown them that strength and peace can coexist. And if another threat arises? Amy asked. Jake's expression grew serious again. Then we will do what we have to do. But until that happens, we go back to being diplomats and traders and peaceful explorers. Colonel Davis approached them. All human military units have confirmed return to civilian status, he reported. We are officially at peace again. Good, Jake said. Let us hope it stays that way. Amy looked out at the alien city beyond the council building. Life was returning to normal after the brief but decisive war. Ships were arriving and departing. Aliens were going about their daily business. Children were playing in the parks. Jake, she said, what do you think the galaxy learned about us? Jake considered the question. They learned that humans are not what they appear to be. They learned that we are capable of things they never imagined. They learned that peace is a choice we make, not a weakness we suffer from. And what did we learn about ourselves? Jake was quiet for a long moment. We learned that we can still be the monsters we once were when we need to be. And we learned that we can choose not to be monsters, even when we have the power to be. Amy nodded slowly. It would take her time to fully understand what had happened and what it meant for humanity's future in the galaxy. But one thing was clear. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. And perhaps that was for the best. The age of human deception was over. The age of human honesty had begun. And in that honesty, there was both hope and warning for all who shared the stars with humanity.